I get so stoked on this show when we find clubs that are incredible performers, but are at a price that is lower than the big names out there. And this brand is one of the ones that has done it best. And their new drivers, the C725 and E725, are really exemplary of what Tour Edge Exotics is capable of and what they've been doing here for years. This brand flies so far under the radar most times. I'm so happy that I stumbled across them a few years ago because they continually put out amazing things. This year, the E725 is a 10K model, the last of 2025 to come out, but also the cheapest at $399. And what might be an even better driver, believe it or not, is the C725 model, which is also $399. Bit of more of a pro model, doesn't carry that 10K badging, but extremely forgiving as well, and maybe the longer driver too. Today, we're gonna put these two head to head, and on top of that, we are going to try a couple of different shafts. You can see what it's like to get the proper shaft fitted for you. I've got the hazardous black shaft, as well as the Denali, both 60 gram and stiff. We're gonna swap them interchangeably between these two drivers. Let's get to work, see which one comes out on top, and see what you're getting for $399. We're gonna start here with the C725 with the Denali shaft. Here we go. Now, look how straight that is, and really did not deserve to be based on where that was hit on the club face. In fact, I'll show you where it was hit, but you can see there it finished at 261 on an off-center strike. That was what I was seeing out on the course. That is super shocking to me. You can see the middle of this club is down here. I hit this pretty high on the club face. Still center of the club face, but high up. I'm getting good numbers there. 140 ball speed off of 102 club speed, carried 240, total 261. The spin number decent there too, 2640. Out on course, I had the hazardous shaft in this one, the hazardous black 60 gram stiff, and I noticed that spin was just a little too low for me. Now, if you're a higher swing speed player, you're hitting it 110, 115, something like that with a driver, that may be the shaft for you. But for me, I think this one suits this club a little bit better for me in my swing. Shot 2. Again, I want you to notice that ball started a little left, but it did not move off that line more than a couple of inches, and again, finished at 259. Club head speed was 101, ball speed was 141. The backspin number was really good. That's like ideal for me, 2323, right around where my ping 10K max sits. And those two balls, even though they were hit quite differently, landed, as you can see on the screen there, very close to each other. And there were times out on course that I could have thrown a blanket over balls on the fairway. They're that tight in terms of dispersion. Shot 3 here. That was low on the club face, maybe a little toe side even, but again, very forgiving result for the type of swing that was. I want to see where the contact was made on that one. Actually, it was a little heel side, interestingly enough. Low heel side, still great numbers here. And of course, a great result. There are the 3 balls there. All 3 of those would be in the fairway. I can only take so many swings because my own body and my own stamina is one thing, but also these videos can't get too long. So I'm gonna take one more here, then we're gonna swap over to the E725 with this Denali shaft and see the differences. High up on the club face there, also probably heel side. We're gonna lose a little distance on that type of shot, but that's about the worst case scenario result that I've seen with this club. That still is probably in right rough, whereas it probably would have deserved to be in the woods on most courses with that type of strike. The contact was not good. And again, I'll show you. Thanks to the GC Quad here. This is courtesy of Play Better, by the way. Our sponsor for many years on this show, provides all the technology you see. You can see that one, again, a really poor strike. So that is an extremely forgiving result where that one actually finished. The fact that it still squeaked out that type of yardage, 242 on that type of strike, not too bad. So extremely forgiving driver here in the C725. I think you can see why I was over the moon out on course with this one. If you talk about price, I mean, that value is second to none. But to get those super straight shots out of this club is so nice to see. And we're gonna go ahead and put the E725 head on. This is, again, the 10K head. 8 levels of adjustability built into this hosel, by the way. And what you're not getting on a lot of drivers these days, especially not at this price point, is that adjustable weight track at the back. So you can actually dial in your draw or your fade, whatever you need in terms of shot shape. On my Ping 10K Max, I spent $200 more and definitely don't have a sliding track like that on there. All right, so this is the recommended shaft that would come stock on this driver. Of course, you can choose the other one, which we're gonna test here in a second, but the nollie is what you would normally get with the E725. Oh, that felt so good. Now, as you can see, that trajectory is exactly what I was seeing on course, kind of high, and that leads me to believe the spin is gonna be a little higher. Let's see the spin number there. Yeah, 3,600. That for me is way too high, and that's why I'm losing a little distance with this one. Club head speed was 101, ball speed 141, so very similar to that first shot that I hit with the C725, but with this E725, all that spin, I lost some yards there. It only carried 223, rolled out to 240, and that's what I was seeing out on course as well. This was not as long as the C725 with this particular shaft. That was not middle contact, but still a very forgiving result. Let's go ahead and check and see where that one was. It felt like, to me, a little high on the club face and maybe a little heel side. Let's take a look. Yeah, a little high, a little heel side. All right, so both of those strikes, not exactly middle yet. We will hopefully find the middle of the club face. 10K, again, look at that dispersion. Those two balls are right on top of each other. Shot 3 here. A little better contact there. Again, if we were gonna look at the peak height and all the stats here in a second, but to me it looks a little higher than it should be for me in my swing. But this driver in particular is marketed towards probably mid-handicappers for the most part, mid to high, because they're gonna need a little bit more forgiveness and they're gonna need a little bit more height in order to, again, squeak out those yards. Club head speed there was 100, ball speed 138, carried 228, total 247. That one was off the toe. We'll see how bad it was. But again, we did not pay a serious price for that serious mishit. Let's see where that one was, and then we're gonna look at the stats side by side here. Okay, it was high and towards the toe there. First thing I always like to do when I'm going head to head here is to look at club head speed, make sure we're apples to apples. And here, we're generating a little more club head speed with the C725, but only about a mile per hour different there, 101.7 to 100.4. So we'll take that into account here as we look at the stats a little deeper. Now, one thing I do want to note here, and I saw this out on course, is that the smash factor or the efficiency is down just a little bit. All right, so these are very forgiving drivers, but maybe you're not squeaking out quite as much distance as some of the other drivers we've tested on this show, and this would be the reason, just not quite as efficient. Even on good strikes, like this one right here, 142, I'd rather see that up around 145, 146, that sort of thing. We're getting good ball speed numbers, 140 to 137, C725 taking that one. In terms of launch angle, 13 is closer to where I need to be. Probably 12 is perfect for me, at least according to my last fitting session. 15.7 is a little high. Again, you're seeing much more spin as well with the E725, 32.42 to 24.39 with the C725. In terms of peak height, 28 to 36, that is a massive difference there. Much higher with the E725, it's spinning up, it's going higher, and it's coming down a little quicker as well. About 10 yards difference there, 9 actually to be exact. 232 with the C725, 223 carry with the E725, and 255 to 240 are the totals there. For looking at the dispersion map though, I think both of these drivers, for where those shots were all over the club face, that is a pretty nice dispersion. I mean, it's wider than I'd like it to be, but again, these were heel strikes, these were toe strikes, and these ones here in the middle, again, fairly tight for decent contact. Forgiveness is what us mere mortals need. By the way, if you're a mere mortal, go ahead and subscribe down below. Really important you do so because it helps this channel grow, it helps us get sponsorships, it helps me continue to produce this content for you guys. By the way, never club sponsorships. Our sponsors are Shipsticks, Play Better, as I mentioned, I don't ever want to taint these reviews, and so in order to give you honest to goodness reviews from a mere mortal perspective, I can't be taking money from these club manufacturers. They come to me all the time. In fact, I just turned another one down last week. It's just not happening. All right, we're switching now to the hazardous black shaft here, 60 grams in stiff, so same stiffness, but this profile is different. It's a lower spin model. For me, I think this is gonna suit the E725 a lot better. We should see the spin come down. With the C725, which already doesn't spin so much coming off the head of that club, well, we're probably gonna have a lot lower peak height than I need, which is why you always wanna test these drivers if you possibly can. The goal of this show is to maybe help you shortlist some great options, but you shouldn't blindly trust me or any other reviewer because your swing's gonna be different from my swing. So always make sure you take this information that I give you, go bring it to a fitter if you possibly can, and try to find out what works best for you. All right, we're gonna stick with the E725. We've got the hazardous shaft in there. Let's see what we do. Oh, toe strike again. You know it's a toe strike when you start to see that hook on the shot there. But again, more subtle than I deserved. It looks extreme, but believe me, out on course, with other drivers that aren't as forgiving as these ones, that could really, really snap. Club head speed was 100, ball speed 137. See, my backspin number there, a lot better, 2003. I think this shaft is gonna be better for this club, for me at least. And again, that was off a toe strike. I definitely made an adjustment there, but I pulled it. I pulled it. Finished at 246, right next to the other one. There we go. That's a good ball. If you've been watching this show for a while, you know that I like a tight little draw, and that's the shot shape we just got there. 251 is where it finished. Club head speed was 101. The backspin, again, a little better there, 28.97. So again, this shaft probably fits me a little bit better. And that one, I can pretty much guarantee was hit in the middle of the club face, but we will check them all. One more here before we switch over to the C725. All right, we ended on another pretty good one, at least in terms of contact. Would probably find the left side of most fairways. Again though, those distance numbers not necessarily blowing me away, and I think again it has to do with the efficiency or the smash factor here, 140, and again I think that was a pretty good strike. We'll double check it here real quick. Yeah, you can see that was, I mean, not exact middle of the club face, but pretty good. This was the shot right before it too, which was pretty good. These were the first two, which were not so good. Definitely, I would say 10K max, we are getting some serious forgiveness out of this head. And again, at a price that I personally really love. Let's take a few shots with this one. Again, hazardous shaft in here. This is, for this club, the recommended shaft. That was a good shot. Again, look how straight that is. When you hit him in the middle, this is as straight a flying driver as can be, and even on those bad strikes, they're not going offline as much as they should. Club head speed 102. The backspin there, 2099, so a little lower again. Probably ideal for me is the 2400 range, 22 to 24, but not bad at all. And carried 237, finished at 259. Shot two. Woo! I guess I just didn't quite get through that one, but that was the middle of the club face. I just didn't get my body through. Getting a little tired here on my 13th swing, I guess it is. Club head speed was 101. The backspin there, that time it was up. 3,100 it looks like. Carried 229, total 246. We got two more strokes with this one. That was a good one there. That I'd say was dead middle of the club face. We're getting the distance there again. That's our best drive of this session. Club head speed was still only 101, so that was more efficient, 142. That's one of the best numbers we've seen here today as well. Backspin number, there you go, 2455. That's right in line. And I finished strong there too. Maybe slightly toe side, but not too bad. I got a lot of club on that ball. Finished at 259, no, 260. All right, so we've definitely finished strong there with those strikes. I was a lot closer to the middle of the club face on those shots. So again, first looking at club head speed numbers, those were really close, both at 100. 0.8 mile an hour difference there, just a little higher with the C725. The efficiency, again, maybe still lower than I'd like to see, but we're getting so much forgiveness. I can always sacrifice a couple of yards to hit more fairways personally. But I'm surprised we're not seeing that, quite honest with you. Again, 144, 145, 146, something like that. Alas, ball speed numbers still looking pretty good. A little lower there with the E725, 138.7. Good number here with the C725, 141.4. Launch angles were a lot better with this shaft, 12.9. I think, again, this is dialing the sweet spot here. I would say if I was fitting myself for a shaft, probably the Hazardous Black fits me a little bit better than that other one. Spin numbers 2612 to 2462. Again, this is probably the better head for me as well, looking at those numbers. Peak height 30 to 29, so a little bit more consistent there. Again, we're just squeaking out more distance with the C725, 235 to 257. All right, so tying a bow around things, I think all in all, for me at least, the C725 is the winner in this series. Even though it doesn't carry that 10K name, it's very forgiving, maybe just as forgiving, if not better, as I mentioned before. I really love it. You're squeaking out a little bit more distance. For me, again, in my particular swing, I'm getting better spin numbers, better launch angles, that sort of thing. And I don't seem to be giving up too much in terms of forgiveness. Either way, both of these drivers, exceptional. And for that price, that is just the icing on the cake. I think these are two of the best drivers I've tried all year. Of course, they are the last drivers of the year that I'll test. We've got the new batch coming out in February and March, but they're gonna be hard pressed to compete with this one, I think, in terms of forgiveness, in terms of straight ball flight, accurate ball flight, even on severe mishits, not too shabby. These clubs are a force to be reckoned with. This 10K driver up against my Ping 10K, why not? Unfortunately, I can't do it today though, because my clubs have been shipped to Scotland, where we are heading for the Golf Travel Show. If you're not subscribed to that channel, by the way, I'll leave a link down in the description for you for that one. Hope you enjoyed this one. I'll catch you back here next time on another edition of Let's Play Through.